Happy June 19th. I'm an asshole. Anybody who doesn't think I'm an asshole hasn't been watching these vlogs and doesn't know me. I am here to educate and I am here to offend. That's always been the point. So warning, the following video may be offensive, may be controversial, may trigger some aspect of something as I discuss current events. If you are triggered by anything, you probably shouldn't watch this. You probably should unsubscribe. You should probably complain about me. You have been warned. Check out the new curtains. Yeah. So yesterday, I posted a vlog, video, whatever you call these things, about the current events and about Wizards of the Coast's decision regarding orcs and races in D&D going forward. And I spewed out a lot of things, a lot of facts, a lot of opinions because I was upset. The idea that my hobby was getting censored and edited and the small microscope of the moral minority was once again censoring and attacking something I loved, attacking art, upset me. Now this followed on the events regarding Gone with the Wind and Gone with the Wind being pulled. This had followed regarding the events regarding all the statues being destroyed and all the art that's being destroyed. This followed regarding the events regarding faulty towers being pulled and people complaining about things that portrayed things in a bad way. People holding the moral microscope of what's going on today and the fact that all these feelings are exaggerated 1,000-fold to things that were created years ago and expecting them to live up to the ideals we currently believe we have. We currently think we have. We're all very excited. We're all very angry. We're all very incensed. We're all very emotional about what's going on. So we're saying things and making decisions and holding things up to microscopes and doing things today because we think that's right. But what happens tomorrow when we calm down? So they're going after art. And they're going after D&D. And they're going after orcs. And I was upset. But who am I to be upset? Who am I to be incensed or upset in the name of someone else? Who are you to be upset in the name of someone else? I'm not an orc. I don't know any orcs. I know people who have identified as orcs. I know people who have identified as Klingons. I know people who identified as women, even though they're men. And men who have identified as women, or women who have identified as men, and people who have identified as furry animals. But I'm not them. What do I know about what's going on? I mean, I'm Jewish. I'm a white, Jewish, disabled, geek male who grew up in the 70s in the public school system. So what do I know about ostracization or people coming after me because I'm different? I mean, at no point in history has anybody ever come after the Jews. There's no point in history is, these are lopsided, aren't they? No point in history has anybody ever come after somebody because they're disabled, because they're a geek, because they wear glasses, because they're different. I'm an entitled white male. What the fuck do I know about what's going on? Who am I to say that what Wizards of the Coast is doing is wrong? I don't know the first thing about subjugation. I've never been abused. I've never been ostracized. I've never been discriminated against. I mean, yeah, right? I'm an entitled white male. What the fuck do I know? Oh, wait. So here's my problem with Wizards of the Coast's decision. I understand from a financial point of view why Wizards of the Coast is making this decision. Wizards of the Coast is a corporation. It is controlled by a larger corporation called Hasbro. The decisions of Wizards of the Coast are not made by Wizards of the Coast, they're made by Hasbro. And Hasbro has to appease its stockholders. Hasbro has to pay the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of workers that are part of the Hasbro family. Hasbro is in the business to make money. With Dungeons and Dragons sales are slumping. Dungeons and Dragons popularity is slumping. Dungeons and Dragons has not won a single award at the Ennies or Gamma or any other thing like that in 4 years. Products have, but the core rules haven't. Paizo, Dungeons and Dragons' #1 competitor, a company that Dungeons and Dragons, through its own stupidity, created, has just come out with Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Pathfinder 2nd Edition is filled with strange, new, wonderful, interesting, amazing ideas of how to build characters, including the idea that orcs, elves, dwarves, gnomes, carrots are no longer races. They're ancestries. That at the beginning of character creation, everybody's the same. Everybody's an amorphous blob, and you can build the character that you want to play. You can have the individuality you want to play. Because up to now, there's been no individuality in Dungeons & Dragons. Everybody plays the characters the exact same way, like every other person. Except no. So, the things that Wizards of the Coast are suggesting are very similar to the things that Paizo Pathfinder already did. So I understand from a financial point of view that if they edit, change, chop up, remake Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and make 5.1, or if they make 6th edition come out a little bit sooner than we think, we're going to have to give them a lot of money. If they reprint every product, which they've hinted that they're going to do, with the new rules of how to address races, we're going to have to go out and buy them again, just like we did with 3.5 and 3. So I understand from a financial point of view why they're doing this. I understand from a social point of view that right now they are being held accountable for choices that were made 50 years ago and by the way things are portrayed. #1 being orcs. Orcs are an inherently evil race in the Monster Manual. Orcs are a monster in the Monster Manual. They're meant to be fought. They're meant to be killed. They're EP and stuff. But Dungeons & Dragons says it wants to grow and change and be different and embrace individuality. Anybody who sat at a table recently and seen all the murder hobos that are infesting Dungeons & Dragons knows that Dungeons & Dragons has not changed. It is still kick open the door, kill the monster, take its stuff. So, choices were made 40 years ago, 50 years ago when the first Monster Manual came out. Orcs were based upon orcs from Lord of the Rings. The orcs in the Lord of the Rings were based upon the idea that evil spirits from poetry, history, mythology, and Greek stuff in the Bible. Now, because people are offended in the name of orcs, people are offended that a race is portrayed as being bad and that, races should be portrayed as being neutral and you can make them good or bad if you want. Because at no point in time in the history of the hobby has ever been a lawful good orc paladin or a chaotic good drow elf ranger with a pet giant cat who wields 2 magic swords and is pretty much the saved the Forgotten Realms a billion times. That's never happened. No human being has ever identified as an orc or a Klingon or a Jedi or a drow or a vampire or a woman when they're a man and use that ability to identify as this race to portray themselves as something else, and through the freedom of being able to portray themselves as something else, made themselves a better human being. That's never happened. So Wizards of the Coast wants us to say, oh, we're sorry we portrayed this race as inherently evil. we're holding ourselves accountable to today's standards of something that happened 40 years ago. The same reason why people are going after Gone with the Wind. They're holding Gone with the Wind to today's moral microscope because it's a movie that was made 81 years ago depicting the events of the Civil War. But that's bad. And we are entitled to say it's bad. I'm not entitled to, despite the fact that free speech says I'm entitled to, I'm not entitled to say I disagree with this choice. I think this is censorship. I think that if Wizards of the Coast wants to make orcs different in 6th, that's fine because they're in the business of making money. But to say orcs are racist? They don't exist. They're not real. I don't know any orcs. Maybe you know an orc. I'm not an orc. But here's the point. Here's the point. Where does it end? Because this is not the first time Wizards of the Coast Dungeons & Dragons has bowed down to the moral minority and changed the game. It's happened twice before. Anybody remember the thing where they made demons into Tanari and they had to change all the artwork and they changed magic cards like Howl from Beyond and Demonic Thingy and stuff like that? Or the Satanic Panic in the 70s and early 80s? Anybody else wake up one morning, walk out to their front yard and see a cross and a swastika burned on their grass because the people in your neighborhood found out you play D&D? And D&D back in the 70s and early 80s meant you worshiped the devil, you killed cats, and you were a witch, and you believed that these reading books could give you magic powers, and you were against God? Or did that not happen? Did I imagine that? I mean, who am I to say? I'm not an orc. But where does it end? Where does it end? When does it stop? We tear down one statue because it's a Confederate general. That's art. Somebody put their heart and soul into that. Maybe that Confederate general was a horrible, awful person, or maybe he was just a guy doing a job, but we don't know. We don't know what that guy was like as a real human being. They tear down a statue of Christopher Columbus because Christopher Columbus discovered America and named it Indians. They go after Gone with the Wind. They go after the statue of David. They go after Sir Laurence Olivier's portrayal of Othello because he does Othello in blackface. They go after orcs in D&D, and where does it end? Because this is the first step. And after they say, oh, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, what's to stop them from going after writers, poets, artists, comedians? Anybody remember Lenny Bruce? Anybody remember the McCarthy era? Anybody remember book burnings? Because it's happened throughout history and it's happening now. What's to stop them from going after something you love? Because once we say this is okay, then it's going to be easier for them to go after something else. And we'll say, okay, that's okay. They're going to chip away. They're going to chip away at our rights and our freedoms and our ability to express ourselves in the name of moral, in the name of right, in the name of, well, we made mistakes in the past. And the best way to deal with mistakes in the past is just to erase them, just to make them go away, just to forget them. That art offends you, we'll just make it go away. That moment in history offends you, we'll just make it go away. That statue offends you, we'll just make it go away. That movie offends you, we'll just make it go away. Orcs and Klingons offend you, we'll just make them go away. And then they go after something else. They go after writers, they go after artists, they go after creators, they go after video games. That's never happened, right, guys? They've never gone after video games. They've never gone after albums. They've never gone after musicians. They've never gone after poets and comedians and then went, what's next? They go after paintings. They go after art. They go after statues. Because that's never happened before, right, guys? There's no point in history where that's happened. Then they go after people's beliefs. And they tell you what you think is wrong, what we think is correct. So you need to start thinking what we're thinking. Your religion is wrong. You need to switch to our religion. Your idea of land is wrong. Your technology is wrong. Your belief system is wrong. Well, the words that are coming out of your mouth offend somebody, and therefore they're wrong. Where does it stop? This is why I'm upset. I'm not upset because Wizards of the Coast is making the decision because the people who buy their products are saying, if you don't do this, we're going to stop buying your products. They understand that they are in the business to make money. Their number one competitor just did the exact same thing a year ago. So they need to catch up. I'm not upset. I'm not upset that you're upset because you're taking the rights of orcs in your name, because you have that right. Freedom of speech says if you want to say, in the name of orcs, I'm offended, even though you're not an orc as far as I know, you have that right. I have the right to say what I'm saying because I have freedom of speech. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. You can find me one of the worst human beings on the face of the planet. Nothing more than an entitled white male. I mean, I've never struggled, right? I'm a Jew. Who's ever picked on the Jews? I'm a guy with glasses. Who's ever picked on people with glasses? I'm a disabled human adult. And I was a disabled kid growing up in the school system in the 70s and 80s. What disabled geek kid who's different in the public school system has ever been picked on? Who's ever been discriminated against? Who's ever been ostracized? None. Never. It's never happened. So what do I know about what's going on? I don't know. That's shit. I'm an idiot with a camera and free speech. And once they go after free speech, once they go after art, what's next? Science? Religion? Dreamers? The rights of an unborn child? Abortion? What's next? What do we take away next because someone somewhere was offended? Where does it end? I'll talk to you losers. Maybe later.